Welcome everyone to another episode of Podcast Name. I'm your host Ryan, and today we're diving into a topic that every parent should be thinking about, the role of parents in the education system. It's something that doesn't get nearly as much attention as it deserves, but the impact parents can have on their child's education is enormous. We're not just talking about helping with homework, it's about being involved in a way that supports learning from all angles, from emotional support to creating a positive learning environment at home. Whether you're a working parent trying to balance everything, or you're someone who feels disconnected from the education process, today we're going to give you practical advice to get more engaged, no matter your situation.
Thanks so much for having me, Ryan. I'm really excited to talk about this topic because, as someone who's been both an educator and a parent myself, I've seen firsthand just how much of a difference parental involvement can make. I've worked closely with families where even small changes in how parents engage with their children have led to huge improvements, not just in academic performance, but in the child's confidence, emotional well-being, and their overall attitude towards school. Personally, I'm passionate about helping parents see that they don't have to be experts in math or science to play a crucial role in their child's education. Sometimes, the most important thing is being present, asking the right questions, and showing that you care about their learning journey.
Exactly, Priya. And I think a lot of parents might feel like they're not doing enough, or maybe they don't know how to get involved, especially as the education system has evolved so much. But as we'll explore today, involvement doesn't have to be complicated or time-consuming. It's about creating that connection between what's happening at school and what's happening at home. We'll be talking about the different ways parents can engage, from attending school events to communicating effectively with teachers, to even small things like having structured routines at home. We'll also get into some of the challenges parents face and how to overcome them.
Right. And I think a lot of parents underestimate the power they have in shaping their child's attitude toward education. It's not just about academics. It's about fostering curiosity, resilience, and a love of learning. For example, in my experience, children whose parents are involved, even in small ways like reading together or discussing the day, tend to be more motivated and have better social skills. So today, we'll dive into some actionable tips that parents can start implementing right away, whether it's managing screen time, creating a study space at home, or finding ways to stay connected with teachers. We'll also talk about how schools can support parents in this journey, because it's definitely a partnership.
You know, Priya, a lot of parents might not realize just how crucial their involvement is to their child's success. There's actually a lot of research that shows the direct link between parental engagement and better academic outcomes. For example, studies from the National PTA and Harvard have shown that children with involved parents are more likely to earn higher grades, graduate from high school, and develop stronger social skills. It's fascinating because we're not just talking about helping with math homework here. It's about fostering a supportive, consistent learning environment. Even something as simple as showing interest in your child's school day can have a profound effect. It sends a message that education is important, which in turn motivates kids to take school more seriously. And beyond grades, parents who are involved tend to raise kids with better self-esteem and emotional resilience, all critical elements for long-term success.
Absolutely, Ryan. And one thing I've seen over the years, working with both students and their families, is that when parents are actively involved, it's not just the academic results that improve. There's a huge emotional and social component too. For instance, I had a student a few years ago who was really struggling, academically, but also socially. His grades were slipping and he wasn't engaging in class. The turning point came when his parents started showing up more, attending parent-teacher conferences, helping him with a simple daily study routine, and most importantly, encouraging open conversations at home. That student's grades went up, yes, but more importantly, he started to develop confidence. He became more engaged, more curious, and that carried over into his social life as well. So, it's not just about making sure they pass the next test. It's about helping children build a strong foundation of self-worth and motivation, and parents play a massive role in that. Whether it's through structured involvement, like attending school events, or emotional support at home, the effects are lasting.
And I think you hit the nail on the head there, Priya. It's not just about what happens inside the classroom, it's about what happens outside as well. Parents don't need to be experts in every subject, but they can support learning in other ways. For example, simply creating a routine at home where learning becomes a natural part of daily life can be a game changer. That could mean having a set time for reading or discussing what the child found most interesting in school that day. Even things like cooking together can be educational. Measuring ingredients is math, following a recipe is a lesson in comprehension and following instructions. These small, everyday actions help reinforce a child's understanding that learning is everywhere, not just in textbooks. I think that's where parents sometimes underestimate their influence. You don't have to be a tutor to have a huge impact on your child's educational experience.
Exactly. I've seen parents who felt completely overwhelmed at the idea of getting involved because they thought it meant sitting down for hours with textbooks or trying to understand complex subjects. But it can be much simpler than that. I remember working with a family where both parents worked long hours, but they found small, creative ways to stay involved. They set up a reading nook in the house and would take turns reading with their child for just 10 minutes before bed. That simple act not only improved the child's literacy, but it also strengthened their bond. It became a time for the child to open up about school and other things on their mind. So it's not always about quantity, it's about quality. Being present, asking questions, and creating moments of learning outside the classroom can have a far greater impact than most parents realize.
That's such a great point, Priya. I think a lot of parents might feel overwhelmed or even guilty, thinking they don't have enough time to be involved. But like you said, it's not about spending hours every day. It's about being consistent in small but meaningful ways. For instance, one of the easiest ways to stay engaged is simply asking open-ended questions about their day. Instead of, "How was school?" which usually gets a one-word answer, ask something like, "What's something interesting you learned today?" Or, "Was there anything challenging?" These kinds of questions encourage your child to reflect and share more, and it helps you stay connected to what they're learning without needing to sit down and review every homework assignment.
Absolutely. And creating that environment at home where education is seen as a priority is key. It doesn't have to be complicated. Even just having a quiet, organized space where your child can do their homework can make a huge difference. I've seen students really thrive when their parents set up a study zone, a designated area free from distractions like TV or phones. It doesn't need to be a full office space either. I've worked with families who simply cleared off a corner of the kitchen table or created a little reading nook. It's more about signaling to the child that this is their dedicated learning space. And beyond that, parents can also reinforce learning through everyday activities. For example, cooking can turn into a math lesson when measuring ingredients, or a trip to the grocery store can be an opportunity to teach budgeting or nutrition.
And I think that's something a lot of parents forget. Learning isn't confined to textbooks. Technology has also made it easier than ever to stay involved. Many schools now offer online portals or apps where parents can track grades, upcoming assignments, and even communicate directly with teachers. I know for a lot of busy parents, these tools can be game changers. You can check in on your child's progress during a lunch break or send a quick message to their teacher without needing to schedule an in-person meeting. There are also great educational apps out there that make learning more interactive. For example, apps like Khan Academy or Duolingo can help reinforce concepts in a fun and engaging way. Parents don't need to be experts in everything. They just need to know how to support their child in accessing the right resources.
That's so true. And it's important to remember that parental involvement isn't just about academics. Being engaged in other areas, like their social or emotional development, is just as critical. I remember working with a student who struggled with making friends. The parents were great about encouraging extracurricular activities, whether it was sports, music, or after-school clubs. This helped the child develop social skills and also gave them a sense of belonging, which, in turn, positively impacted their performance in school. So, sometimes it's not about helping with homework, but encouraging your child to be curious, explore their interests, and build relationships. Parents can help foster this by being supportive, asking about their child's friends, and encouraging them to join activities that match their passions.
And I love that point, Priya. Having routines in place is another powerful way parents can support their child's education, even if they aren't directly involved in every aspect of learning. For example, setting up a consistent routine where homework is done at the same time every day can really help a child develop discipline and good study habits. You're teaching them time management, which is a skill that will benefit them far beyond school. Plus, routines help children understand the balance between school and downtime so they don't feel overwhelmed. Parents can also use routines to schedule in family activities that reinforce learning, like reading together before bed or watching an educational show on weekends. It's all about creating that rhythm where learning becomes a natural part of the day. You know, Priya, we've talked a lot about the different ways parents can get involved, but I think it's important to acknowledge that it's not always easy. A lot of parents, especially those juggling jobs or multiple kids, face real challenges when it comes to staying engaged. For example, I've heard from many parents who feel overwhelmed by their own busy schedules. Maybe they're working late hours, or they just don't have the energy after a long day to sit down and help with homework. Others might feel disconnected from the education system itself, especially when their child reaches higher grades where the subjects get more complex. I think this is where a lot of guilt can set in, and that's something we should address. Parents want to help, but they often feel like they're not doing enough.
That's such a good point, Ryan. I've worked with many parents who feel exactly that, overwhelmed and unsure where to start. I think it's important for parents to realize that they don't have to do everything perfectly to make a difference. Even small, consistent actions are powerful. For example, if time is an issue, setting up a weekly check-in with your child about school can be just as effective as helping with homework every night. Maybe every Sunday, you sit down and review what's coming up for the week. It only takes 15 minutes, but it shows your child that you're invested in their education. And for parents who feel unsure about complex subjects, it's okay to admit that you don't know everything. Use that as an opportunity to learn together. Look up resources online or encourage your child to ask their teacher for extra help. It's the effort and engagement that count, not mastering every subject.
Exactly. And for parents balancing work and family life, it's about finding creative ways to be involved, even if you can't be physically present at every school event. For example, many schools now offer virtual parent-teacher meetings, which is a great way to stay connected without taking time off work. Or you can set aside time during your commute to talk to your child about their day, maybe on the drive to school or while picking them up from after-school activities. I know parents who use those small windows of time to ask their kids about what they're learning, how they're feeling about school, or even what projects they're excited about. You don't need hours of time, just intentional moments throughout the week to stay engaged.
And another great resource for parents is building a support network. If time is tight, lean on other parents in your community. I've seen groups of parents who take turns attending school events, sharing notes or updates with each other so that everyone stays in the loop. It's like a team effort. Schools are also becoming more proactive in helping parents stay connected. Some offer newsletters or parent resource centers where you can find tips and updates. And don't forget, teachers are there to support parents too. If you feel overwhelmed or unsure, it's perfectly okay to reach out to your child's teacher and ask for advice on how to best support their learning at home. Teachers appreciate engaged parents, and they often have great insights on what you can do.
That's a great point, Priya. And speaking of communication, another challenge I've heard from parents is feeling like there's a gap between them and the school, like they're not always sure what's happening or how they can help. One solution is to establish a clear line of communication early on. Don't wait for a problem to arise. Instead, try to schedule regular check-ins with teachers, even if it's just a quick email every month. That way, you're not only staying informed about your child's progress, but also showing the school that you're an engaged partner in your child's education. Schools can also help by offering parent workshops or resources on how to navigate the curriculum, which can be incredibly helpful for parents who feel out of touch.
Exactly, Ryan. And I've seen firsthand how even parents facing tough challenges can make a real difference. I worked with a single mother who had 2 jobs and barely any free time. She felt disconnected from her child's schooling, but after reaching out to the teacher, they set up a simple system where she could check in weekly through emails and get a quick update on her child's progress. She also made it a point to attend one school event per semester, even if she couldn't make it to everyone. Over time, her child started to show more interest in school, and even though she wasn't able to be there every day, those small actions built a bridge of communication and support. It's proof that any parent, no matter how busy, can find a way to stay involved.
Priya, I think one of the easiest and most effective ways parents can support their child's education is by creating a productive learning environment at home. And when we say that, we're not talking about turning the house into a classroom, but more about making sure there's a space where learning is encouraged and distractions are minimized. For example, setting up a designated study area, even if it's just the kitchen table, can send the message that this is a space for focus and learning. Studies have shown that students who have a structured environment for studying perform better because it helps them build routine and discipline. And it doesn't take much. Just a quiet spot with the basics, like good lighting, some school supplies, and minimal distractions.
Absolutely, Ryan. Structure is key, especially for younger kids who thrive on routine. And what's interesting is that the physical space you create can actually help establish a mental routine as well. When children know they have a set time and place for homework or studying, it helps them transition into learning mode more easily. I worked with a family who didn't have much extra space, so they created a simple learning station in the living room. It was just a small desk with a few essentials, but the child knew that when they sat there, it was time to focus on schoolwork. And it's not just about the space. Having a set time each day for studying or reading also builds those habits over time. If 7 to 8 p.m. is homework time, that consistency becomes part of their routine and reduces resistance.
That's such a great point, Priya. Another thing I hear from a lot of parents is the struggle with screen time. It's a real challenge in today's world, where kids are surrounded by technology. But the good news is, screens can also be a tool for learning if used the right way. I've seen families who set specific limits for entertainment time, like video games or social media, and balance it with educational screen time. There are fantastic apps and websites out there like Khan Academy or Brain Pop that are designed to make learning fun and interactive. So instead of fighting the screen, parents can use it to their advantage by mixing in educational content with entertainment. It's all about balance, making sure technology is helping, not distracting.
Exactly. And that balance is so important. Another great way to create a productive learning environment is by encouraging active learning. That means getting kids involved in hands-on activities that promote critical thinking and problem solving. For example, something as simple as baking together can be an excellent learning experience. You're teaching math when measuring ingredients, chemistry when you're watching things rise or change in the oven, and following a recipe builds reading comprehension skills. I've worked with families where these kinds of everyday activities turn into mini learning opportunities. And it's great for parents who don't have a lot of extra time. You're bonding with your child while also reinforcing important skills. Learning doesn't always have to look like sitting at a desk.
Exactly, Priya. I love that idea of integrating learning into daily life. And I think another big part of creating a productive environment at home is managing stress levels. Kids, just like adults, need a balance between work and rest. Parents can help by creating routines that include time for schoolwork, but also time for relaxation. For example, having a wind-down routine after school where the child has 30 minutes to decompress before starting homework can help them focus better. This way, they don't feel like they're jumping from one stressful activity to another. It's all about creating a rhythm where learning feels natural but doesn't overwhelm them. When you combine a structured environment with regular breaks, it helps children maintain focus and reduces burnout.
Exactly, Ryan. And it's important for parents to remember that creating a productive learning environment also means creating positive experiences around learning. If schoolwork is always framed as a chore, kids can start to dread it. But if parents celebrate small successes, like finishing a tough assignment or mastering a new skill, it makes learning something to look forward to. I worked with a family who would have a homework check-in every Friday, where they reviewed the week and highlighted what went well. They even had a small reward system for milestones, like an extra 30 minutes of screen time or choosing a weekend activity. It's a simple way to keep the child motivated and make the whole experience feel rewarding rather than stressful.
Priya, we've talked a lot about what parents can do at home, but I think it's equally important to discuss the partnership between parents and schools. Studies consistently show that when parents and schools work together, students benefit academically and socially. When parents are actively involved, schools tend to see better attendance, improved behavior, and higher overall achievement in students. It's like a team effort. Parents handle the home environment, while teachers and schools provide the academic and social framework. But that partnership doesn't just happen on its own. Parents need to take the first step by opening those lines of communication, whether it's attending parent-teacher conferences, joining school events, or even just sending an email to check in on their child's progress.
Absolutely, Ryan. And I think a lot of parents are unsure about how to engage with schools, especially when life gets busy. But it doesn't always have to be about attending every single event or meeting. Sometimes small, consistent actions are enough to build that connection. For instance, making an effort to introduce yourself to the teacher at the start of the school year can set the tone for open communication. Even if you can't attend every parent-teacher meeting, sending a quick email every few months to ask how your child is doing can show that you're invested. I've worked with teachers who are more than happy to provide tips on how parents can support learning at home. Another great way to stay connected is through school apps or newsletters, which many schools now offer to keep parents updated on important dates, assignments, and announcements.
That's right, Priya. And when it comes to communicating with teachers, I think it's important for parents to understand that they don't have to wait for issues to arise before reaching out. Proactive communication can make all the difference. If parents touch base with teachers regularly, even with something as simple as, "How can I support my child in this subject?" it opens the door to a more collaborative relationship. This way, parents can get real-time feedback on how their child is doing and what areas might need extra attention. And when challenges do come up, like a drop in grades or behavioral issues, that foundation is already in place. The key is approaching teachers as partners, not just when there's a problem to solve, but as part of the team working toward the same goal, the child's success.
Exactly, Ryan. I think some parents feel intimidated by the idea of reaching out to teachers, but they really appreciate it when parents take the initiative. I remember working with a family where the child was struggling in math, and the parents were completely unsure of how to help. They didn't feel confident with the subject themselves, so they reached out to the teacher, and together they came up with a plan. The teacher provided some extra resources for the parents to use at home, like online math games and practice sheets, and the parents set up a regular check-in with the teacher every few weeks. The result was that the child started improving, not just because of the extra practice, but because the child could see that both the teacher and parents were on the same team, working together. That kind of collaboration is so powerful.
That's such a great example, Priya, and it really highlights the importance of schools being proactive in helping parents too. Schools can play a huge role in supporting parental involvement, whether it's through regular communication, offering parent workshops, or simply making sure that parents have access to the resources they need. For example, many schools now host workshops on how parents can help with homework, manage screen time, or support emotional well-being at home. And I've seen schools that offer flexible parent-teacher meeting schedules or even virtual meetings to accommodate working parents. The key is for schools to create a welcoming environment for parents so they feel empowered to get involved. It's not just about parents fitting into the school's schedule, but schools being flexible and accessible for parents too.
Absolutely, Ryan. It's all about creating that partnership approach. When schools and parents work together, children really notice. It sends a message that learning is a shared responsibility. It's not just something that happens at school or at home in isolation. I've seen schools that do a great job of this by regularly involving parents in the learning process, whether it's through interactive homework that requires a parent's input or by organizing events that celebrate both academic and personal milestones together. And from the parent's side, it's important to remember that even if you're not physically present at every event, staying informed and communicating regularly can go a long way. It all comes back to the idea of teamwork, with the child at the center.
Wow, Priya. We've covered so much today, and I think it all really comes down to one thing. Parental involvement is one of the most powerful tools we have in helping kids succeed. Whether it's creating a productive learning environment at home, building routines that encourage discipline, or partnering with teachers and schools, there are so many ways for parents to make a real impact. And the best part is, you don't need to have all the answers or be an expert in every subject. Small, consistent actions, asking about your child's day, setting up a quiet space for homework, or staying in touch with teachers can go a long way in showing your child that education is important and that you're there to support them.
Exactly, Ryan. And for parents who might be feeling overwhelmed or unsure of where to start, my advice is to just take it one step at a time. Start with something simple. Maybe it's setting aside 10 minutes each day to check in with your child about what they're learning or creating a small, distraction-free study area at home. If you've been feeling disconnected from the school, send a quick email to the teacher or check out any resources the school has to offer, like newsletters or parent portals. The important thing is to make that first move. Once you start building those habits and connections, it becomes easier to stay involved. And remember, even small efforts are noticed by your child. They'll feel supported, which can boost their confidence and motivation.
And I think that's such a crucial message, Priya. Parents don't need to feel like they have to tackle everything at once. Overcoming barriers, whether it's time constraints, work-life balance, or feeling unsure about the education system, is all about finding what works for your family. Maybe it's setting up a weekly check-in with your child's teacher, or finding educational apps that make learning fun. The key is to stay flexible and be kind to yourself. No one expects perfection. As long as you're showing up and staying engaged, you're making a positive impact. Remember, it's not about doing it all, but about being consistent and supportive, even in small ways.
That's right, Ryan. And as children grow older, the ways parents get involved may change, but the core message remains the same. Involvement matters. For younger kids, it might mean helping with homework or reading together, while for older kids, it could be more about checking in on their progress, discussing future goals, or encouraging extracurricular activities. I've seen that as children enter middle school or high school, parents sometimes feel less needed, but that's when engagement is still critical. Even just showing interest in their passions, helping them manage their time, or discussing their plans for college or career can have a huge impact. The role of a parent may evolve, but it never stops being important.
Exactly, Priya. The takeaway here is that no matter the age of your child, your involvement is key. It doesn't have to be overwhelming or time-consuming. Even small actions make a big difference. To all the parents listening, just remember that your presence, encouragement, and support are the foundation for your child's success in education and beyond. You don't need to be perfect. Just being present and engaged is enough to create a lasting, positive impact. And we hope the tips and strategies we've shared today will help you feel more confident and empowered in taking those steps.
Exactly, Ryan. And I hope parents take away the fact that they have so much influence in their child's education, more than they might even realize. It's all about being there, asking questions, and creating an environment where learning is encouraged. So whether it's setting up that study space or simply having regular conversations with your child about school, it all counts. And don't hesitate to reach out to teachers or other parents if you need support. Remember, you're not alone in this. Thanks so much for tuning in today, and we hope these ideas help you feel more connected and involved in your child's learning journey.
Thanks for that, Priya. And to all our listeners, we appreciate you taking the time to join us today. We hope you found this episode helpful and that you're leaving with some practical steps to engage more with your child's education. Remember, it's never too late to start making a difference. Stay tuned for our next episode, and feel free to reach out with any questions or suggestions. Until next time, take care and keep supporting your child's learning journey.